Welcome back to another episode. We have a lot to talk about today, especially in the semiconductor market. First, we're going to take a quick look at Intel. They are finally releasing their new graphics cards. Unfortunately, they're coming out at a time when graphics stock prices are going down. What does this mean for AMD and Nvidia investors? Talking about Nvidia, future chips could be built under Intel's foundry. This is actually more possible than I previously thought it was. We're going to hit that on a bit. Next, we're also going to see that TSMC is ramping up production. Unfortunately, manufacturing equipment company like ASML cannot keep up with demand. If this is your first time here, make sure to hit the thumbs up, make sure to hit the subscribe button, check out the pinned comment for free Discord, free newsletter, and a lot of great investing links. On March 30th, Intel is going to have an event where they're going to showcase their ARC graphics cards. These are going to be the first step that Intel is entering into the discrete graphics processing unit. They're going to be competing against likes of AMD and Nvidia. All right, so now if we take a quick look at their 2022 rollout for this ARC graphics cards, in Q1 we're going to see them coming out with their notebooks graphics cards. So I do believe in this event in March 30th we're going to already see some of the laptops that are going to be coming out within the next few days, within the next few weeks, or maybe just at that moment that have kind of Intel's graphics in them. We also see on Q2, this is when they're going to be announcing the desktop, and Q3 is when they're going to be announcing the workstation. But unfortunately, is Intel a little bit too late to this kind of graphics card race, especially when we keep seeing articles like this where GPU prices continue to fall down. If you've been living under a rock, you might have not noticed that GPU prices continue to sell at over MSRP prices for probably the past 2 years, maybe even more, driven by overall chip shortage and driven by the overall crypto miners that keep kind of buying all these graphics cards in bulk and not giving it for the gamers, not leaving them for the content creators or for anybody else, game producers, animators to kind of need and buy those graphics cards. So even though things are falling down, I do believe the demand is still pretty strong, especially with things like artificial intelligence. Nvidia and AMD, their graphics cards are not only for gamers, right? They also produce server graphics cards, which are great for data centers, for artificial intelligence, which is a pretty big market right now with things like autonomous driving and so much more. I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video and keep listening for this great offer we have for the community. The Motley Fool is a company that provides investing insight and stock recommendations for investors of all skill sets and risk levels. You all know how much I love researching new stocks and trying to find the next best investments. So I'm proud to partner with the Motley Fool to bring you a discount for one of my favorite services the Fool offers, the Motley Fool Stock Advisor. Go to fool.com/Jose to sign up and get access to a ton of expert stock picks. Every month you'll get 2 new picks that are aimed at growing your wealth and to help you realize your financial goals. Stock Advisor has been a market-beating service. So what are you waiting for? Thanks again for the Motley Fool. Now on to today's points. All right, next I want to talk about Nvidia and how they are in talks to use Intel as a foundry to manufacture their chips. And may I say, if you're not familiar, Intel is in the CPU market. They're just entering the GPU market, and they're also entering the kind of foundry market where they want to make chips for competitors, right? They want to become a manufacturing company of chips. And I did believe that one of the biggest risks here was that some of the competitors of Intel, like AMD, like Nvidia, would not want to have their chips made from Intel. And Jensen, the CEO of Nvidia, actually proved me wrong. Jensen actually confirmed that the company is considering using Intel's foundry to possibly make some of its chips. And like I mentioned, Intel is now a direct competitor with Nvidia on both CPU and GPU fronts. Jensen did mention that kind of picking out a foundry is not an easy business, and it takes time. It takes a fair amount of time and a lot of deep discussions. But what did surprise me, this is the part that did surprise me right here. They have been working closely with Intel, sharing with them their roadmaps long before we share it with the public for years. Intel has known our secrets for years. AMD has known our secrets for years. We share roadmaps, of course, under confidentiality and very selective channels of communications. The industry has just learned how to work in that way. So like I mentioned, one of my biggest risk, or one of the biggest bear flags I thought here for Intel foundries, was that the competitors weren't going to go to them. But they mentioned, hey, we share all our secrets. We kind of get in groups and talk about how we're going to beat each other, how we're going to make money from each other. Obviously, Intel and NVIDIA work really well together with their GPU CPU combo. AMD, same way. Their NVIDIA, in some of their servers, they're using AMD CPUs and NVIDIA's GPUs. So now this actually took a bit of worry for me from Intel, and this is looking like a little bit more favorable in my opinion as a stock investment. If we take a quick look at stock prices right now, we can see year to date Intel has definitely not done well, but in the past month has kind of done pretty insane. AMD, very similar, year to date has not done well, but in the past month is kind of pulling up. Then we have Nvidia. Nvidia is just a monster, right? In the past year to date has not done the best, but it's still probably one of my favorite investments right now. All right, so to continue this overall semiconductor news, next I want to take a quick look at TSMC. And there are reports that they are ramping up their 5 nanometer and 4 nanometer chips. So according to Digital Times, TSMC is working on an increase in monthly shipments of finished wafers from 120,000 to 150,000 for its 5 nanometer nodes, under which 4 nanometer also falls in. This is 3 times as much as TSMC was producing just a year ago. And let me just mention, I do believe there is a main reason for this is a lot of these semiconductor companies are moving into the 5 nanometer space. Remember, we have NVIDIA that's just recently announced their Grace CPU. That's going to be on TSM's 5 nanometer. We also have AMD with their future Ryzen products, which are also going to be in the 5 nanometer. And Intel, most likely with some of their future products, are also going to be in TSMC's 5 nanometer and 4 nanometer nodes. The report also mentions that TSMC is expecting 20% revenue increase from its 28 to 7 nanometer nodes this year. So it's just showcasing that just because you're going down in lower nanometers, right? We're kind of hitting that kind of entry point to the 5 and the 4 nanometers. The higher nodes are still needed. So it's not like that revenue is kind of is destroyed. Companies still need 28. They still need the 7. They still need the 14. They still need the 10. So there's plenty of revenue to go around for TSMC. If we take a quick look at stock price, though, TSMC is one that I believe has taken quite a beating, right? Right now, we can see in the past month it's down about 3.7%, and year to date is down about 16.83. And from its 52-week high, the stock is down over 23.81. This is not a stock I'm buying this week, but one I have increased last week. I actually entered a position last week, and I am expecting to open up even more position in the upcoming weeks because I do believe this is sitting at some attractive values right now. The final topic I want to talk about is, first we talked about chip designers, right? Like AMD, like Intel, and like Nvidia. Then we talked a little bit about foundries like TSMC and Intel's foundries. Now we're going to go a little bit higher on that list. Let me just make sure that my hand's there. Higher on the list, and that is going to be the creators of the equipment for these foundries, and that is going to be ASML. And we have this report right now where chip making companies can't buy enough lithography machines. For those not familiar, lithography machines are the machines used to kind of make these chips by TSM, by Intel. So these chips are very important. ASML is pretty much a monopoly in the EUV market machines, and there's definitely a pretty cool article on CNBC where you can kind of learn a little bit about ASML and their history. But right now we can see the chief executive of ASML, which creates lithography machines used by companies like Intel and Samsung, has said it won't have enough parts to meet demands for at least 2 years. And for those not familiar, in their most recent quarter, ASML did something that I thought was crazy, but this is just where the market is at right now, where in order to support customers and their overall lead time, they are shipping. One way to reduce their cycle times is through a fast shipment process that skips some of the testings in their factories, and the final testing and formal acceptance then takes place at the customer sites. We can see ASML is a stock that also has taken quite a hit from its 52-week high. Right now it's down about 23%, but in the past month has kind of recovered nicely from that 570 low prices. I do want to say all these stocks are looking pretty interesting, and they all have their bullish and bearish thesis. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Take care, have a good day, and see you next time.